Second Chances. Chapter 7.
It had been a long day, his graduation, promotion, and assignment all coming together on the same day. Now it was well past 20-30 hours, and he was tired. But he stowed his gear, took a shower, and changed into a duty uniform in preparation to meet with the first officer in the lounge. At 2100, David stepped through the doors to the lounge. It was a large yet comfortable room, not unlike a good quality bar and grill in his own time, except that this one had a bit more light and an airy feeling. A long, well-lit bar was on one wall, and many small tables and chairs scattered about the room. There were groups of men and women, in and out of uniform, eating and drinking, some talking intently, others laughing and generally enjoying themselves. In a far corner, a game of 3D chess, and in another, a card game was in progress. Sighting Commander Walker, David walked around the other occupants, and at the first officer's invitation, he sat opposite Walker. Seated with Commander Walker was an attractive woman wearing Lieutenant Commander's insignia.
Commander Stevens, this is our ship's counselor, Deanna Trina. Deanna, this is Commander David Stevens, our 500-year-old man.
David greeted both officers and then waited for Walker to continue.
Commander Stevens, Captain Perry has assigned me to oversee your training here on the Enterprise. And so I have drawn up an agenda which will take you through all the major functional sections and positions I feel you will need in your career.
Thank you, Commander Walker. I appreciate all you have done. And I will strive to give Captain Perry, you, and this ship no reason to regret my presence.
Commander, you will find that this is a well-run ship, and it is, at times, a little relaxed. I would appreciate your calling me Bill. If you don't mind, I'd like to call you Dave.
Commander Walker, I would be very uncomfortable calling you Bill at this time. I have no objection to you calling me Dave. But because of my military background, I would prefer to call my shipmates by their rank and last name. It's just the way I was brought up.
In that case, Dave, make yourself comfortable. We will start you out in engineering. You will work with Lieutenant Commander Stephen Davis. My intention is not to make you an engineer but to give you an appreciation of the job, its people, and its magnitude. You will continue in engineering until Stephen is satisfied. My goals for you have been met.
I look forward to working with Commander Davis. I was more technician in the Army than I was anything else.
We will lay out your agenda at another time if that's okay with you. I have a couple of other things I'd like to ask you right now, if you don't mind.
That will be fine, Commander. What do you want to know? Bill Walker looked over at Deanna. She gave him a quick nod, and he continued.
Can you tell me why you were promoted to commander at your graduation rather than climbing through the ranks like the rest of us?
It's really quite simple. It is not as if they promoted some 22-year-old midshipman. I have been a military man for a good portion of my life. My promotion was in recognition of my military career. When I was put to sleep 494 years ago, I held the highest enlisted rank in the U.S. Army. I was a sergeant major. Admirals Halloran and Maravich felt that it would be a demotion for me to be commissioned any lower than commander.
How many years do you have in the military?
Counting my years at the academy, I have been in the military just about 35 years.
And now, another subject. I understand that you taught self-defense in the academy?
Yeah, I did.
Sometime, at your convenience, would you show me your technique?
I would be pleased to, Commander. At your convenience?
Well, I know you've had a long day. I won't keep you any longer. You need to report to Commander Davis at 0730 hours in the morning.
Thank you, sir. Counselor. Good night. David walked slowly out of the lounge into his quarters. Bill looked at Deanna and gave her a questioning expression. Deanna regarded Bill and said,
I sense a deep loneliness and pain in him. I have only encountered this depth of loneliness in Timothy Halloran. But there is a quality of self-confidence and a genuine interest in other people. I have only encountered such a strong quality of self-assurance in two other men, Captain George Perry and Admiral Halloran. But there is something else. I can't quite put my finger on it.
Is he what he seems to be? A man who went to sleep and woke 500 years later?
Oh, yes. I sense that he has told us nothing but the truth. At least he believes everything he has told us about himself. I'm going to schedule a few sessions with him. Perhaps I can learn more and even help him to adjust.
David tried to sleep, but his routine had been interrupted. He needed a couple hours workout. Then maybe he could sleep. He asked the computer about a gym or other adequate facility to do his workout. The computer suggested that he use a holodeck. There were several exercise programs available for a physical workout. Slipping into his sweat clothes, David walked to the nearest holodeck and looked over the available programs. One program caught his eye, Chal's calisthenics program. Having heard that Chal was a centurion, David selected the calisthenics program and requested level 1. Stepping into the holodeck, he was confronted with a steamy jungle atmosphere in which several structures appeared to be the ruins of some ancient civilization. Curious, he walked a little further to be met by a biped about 7 feet tall, armed with what might have passed for a battle axe, and this creature did not seem to be in a good mood. The creature charged, swinging the axe with a look of murder in its eyes. David stepped in and quickly disarmed the creature, chopping its neck rendered it unconscious. Immediately another creature attacked David. This one was of a different species and carried what might have been a 6-foot scimitar. This creature stopped short of reaching David and began to circle to gain some advantage. David stepped away and immediately stepped into the creature, disarmed it, and rendered it inoperative. Then came another creature. After each victory, David faced another creature, each bigger, stronger, and better armed than the last. Finally, after about 2 hours, David ended the program and walked to his quarters, sure he would sleep well. I'll have to try a higher level next time. 600 hours, David was up, showered, shaved, dressed, and having breakfast when the buzzer at his door sounded. He got up and opened the door. There stood a lieutenant commander with a visor over his eyes.
I'm Stephen Davis, Commander. I just stopped by to make sure you knew you are supposed to be in engineering in an hour.
Please come in, Commander. I'm just finishing my breakfast. Won't you please sit down? I'll only be a few minutes.
Please call me Stephen, Commander. I just haven't gotten used to being called Commander.
Stephen sat. Can I offer you anything?
That coffee smells good, maybe a cup of coffee.
Great. Computer, coffee, Stevens blends, hot. Black, Commander?
Black, yes. Thanks.
Black. The replicator produced a steaming cup of black coffee, and David picked it up and handed it to Stephen. Between bites of bacon and eggs and sips of coffee, the two officers discussed their agenda in engineering. Then, having finished breakfast, the two officers walked to the engineering section. Upon entering engineering, Stephen called over a tall, gangly lieutenant.
Commander Stevens, this is Lieutenant Reginald Champion. Reg, this is Commander David Stevens, he will be working in engineering for a while.
Once the introductions had been made, Stephen continued.
Reg is a member of my crew, a rather eccentric genius, and my friend.
It was apparent to David that Commander Davis and Lieutenant Champion were the best of friends, so he joined in with the spirit of the interchange. Lieutenant, I'm pleased to make your acquaintance. I look forward to working with an eccentric genius. The last eccentric genius I worked with was Dr. Jeffrey Franklin. He was the director of Project Deep Silence, and he was my friend. The day went well. David was introduced to the engineering crew and came to regard them as competent, efficient, and a well-oiled machine guided by Davis's proficient leadership and technical expertise. David spent his duty hours with Reg on system checks, calibrations, and familiarizing himself with the layout of the engineering section. That evening, before having dinner, David went to the holodeck again. He again selected Chal's calisthenics program, but this time he asked for level 2. The program began much like the night before. After defeating the battle axe swinging creature, he was attacked by two of that same creature. Both creatures were armed with the battle axe. David stepped into the first creature, disarmed it, and swung the axe at the second creature. The creature backpedaled, and as a consequence, David's blow missed, throwing him off balance. The first creature grabbed him around the chest and lifted him off the ground, and the second creature came at him swinging the axe. David did a quick backflip, swung over the head of the first creature, and dropped to the ground just in time to see the axe smash into the chest of the first creature. David quickly stepped in and disarmed the second creature, bringing stiff fingers into the creature's throat, killing it instantly. However, no sooner had he defeated these opponents than a second set of creatures attacked. This went on as before, only the difficulty level was higher. After 2 hours, David ended the program and went to his quarters. There he found Lieutenant Champion waiting to invite him to the lounge for dinner and a little conversation. Showered, he dressed and accompanied Reg to the lounge, where they sat at a table off to one side of the room and ordered dinner. They discussed many things. But the subject kept returning to one of Reg's pet projects, one he had thought about a lot but had never had the time to begin experimentation.
You see, Commander, I make a lot of mistakes. And Stephen, Commander Davis, and the captain are reluctant to approve my experiments.
David looked at his new acquaintance and thought a moment. Well, Lieutenant, maybe we can work out the theory and then present it to Commander Davis and see if a little holodeck experimentation would be allowed. If that works out, maybe we can do it for real. Maybe we might even present our findings to the captain. What is your idea?
Well, our shields seem to be more vulnerable than those of other civilizations' ships. So I think we could find a better, more efficient way of generating the shields while strengthening them.
Now that I would like to be part of. After several days of working with Reg and Stephen, one morning Stephen stopped David and told him that he had a session with Counselor Trina at 09:30 hours. A little puzzled, he worked until 9:15, and then he excused himself and walked to Trina's office. Thumbing the door signal, David entered at Deanna's invitation. The room was medium-sized, clean, and airy, attractively furnished, with Deanna seated in a very comfortable chair. She motioned him to sit on the couch opposite her. He began by asking her why he was scheduled for this session with her, did he need a psychological tune-up or checkup, and what he had done.
You haven't done anything. I sense some pain in you and loneliness. I wanted to know if there was anything I could do to help you.
What do you want from me, counselor? I haven't done anything or said anything to give anybody a reason to think I have a problem.
Commander, I am a Pompeian, half Pompeian and somewhat empathic. I can sense deep feelings in others. I did sense, in you, pain and loneliness. Won't you let me help you? Tell me your story.
He told Deanna everything about his family and their deaths, about the healing that had come with Stella and his loss again. This is the reason for the pain and loneliness. I don't really think that there is anything you can do to help. I just need time to heal again.
David, there are many lovely women on this ship who are not in any serious relationship. If you were to meet them, perhaps you may find someone to help with the healing. Spend some time in the lounge. Dance a little, and get to know more of the crew. I have seen you there with Reg Champion, but you need to broaden your horizons.
Well, counselor, I will keep your advice in mind. But Reg and I are starting on a very interesting project, and I intend to pursue it. So if there is nothing else, I must get back to work, if you will excuse me. David got up and left Deanna sitting, wondering. Then she began to record her impressions.
Commander Stevens is a quiet man. Sad and lonely. That elusive quality I sensed his first evening on the Enterprise turns out to be true humility. Nothing false about him that I can find. When people express an interest in him, he is genuinely surprised. He has a genuine interest in others and sincerely likes other people.
That evening Reg and David sat in the lounge discussing their pet project. Before them were palm pads, old texts, and computer readouts of contemporary theory and practices centered around their passion, project, and shield generation improvement. Counselor Trina entered with a lovely young ensign in tow. The two ladies walked directly to the table where the two guys sat talking. So engrossed in their project, neither man noticed the two women until Deanna cleared her throat. Reg jumped up and stammered.
Counselor, our apologies. Please, won't you join us?
The two men swept the materials off the table into a couple of bags and turned to face the ladies seating themselves at the table. Reg again spoke with a stammer.
What can we do for you this evening?
Facing David, Deanna said.
Gentlemen, I want you to meet Ensign Eleanor Simpson. Eleanor, this is Commander David Stevens and Lieutenant Reginald Champion. Eleanor is relatively new to the Enterprise, and I thought you, David, could help her acclimate to her new assignment since you are new to the Enterprise too.
Then Deanna stood up and held out her hand to Reg and said,
Reg, let's you and I step over here, there is something I would like to talk to you about.
Reg and Deanna slipped away, leaving Eleonora and David alone at the table. Eleanor started to blush, starting with the ears and moving from her face down. David felt her discomfort and reached out for her hand. Eleonora, I'm sorry this has caused you discomfort. Can I get something for you?
Commander, I'm sorry. Counselor Trina hijacked me, and I didn't realize what she had in mind. I don't want to make you uncomfortable.
I see that we are both victims of Counselor Trina's desire to help people. I guess it's hard on her to talk to people who might be a little lost or lonely. I am happy to make your acquaintance.
I guess I should go.
No, don't go. If you go, the counselor will only try again to help us. Let me get you something. I'm going to get a little ice cream. What would you like?
I would like a little chocolate ice cream, please.
David brought 2 dishes of ice cream. He and the ensign sat and talked about innocuous things and enjoyed their ice cream. At the end of the evening, David took Eleanor's elbow and guided her out of the room. He walked with her to her quarters, and they thanked one another for the time they had spent in the lounge, and they agreed that they probably would not make a point of seeing each other again. She entered her quarters, and he walked to his quarters. As had become his habit, David dressed for his time in the holodeck and walked to his exercise time. Selecting Charles' calisthenics program, he chose level 3 and entered the holodeck. Beginning his exercise, David concentrated on the opponents the program brought him. 15 minutes into the program, the holodeck door opened, and a rather startled Lieutenant Commander Chal entered. David ordered, "Pause program." Looking at the Centurion, David asked, "May I help you, Commander?" Chal paused and then asked what David thought he was doing using his program. David apologized. "Mr. Chal, I didn't realize I shouldn't use your program. It is just what I need to stay focused and alert in practicing my martial arts skills."
Perhaps you and I might practice together, Commander.
"It would be my pleasure, Commander. What level are you accustomed to?"
What level are you using this evening?
"Level 3.
With your permission, Commander.
Level 4.
Chal and David prepared for the attack. After 2 hours, both men called to the computer and programmed.
Commander, I have never seen an Earth-human fight at level 4 as well as you. I would count it a privilege to fight at your side again.
"Mr. Chal, I like your program, and I found it exhilarating to exercise with you. I try to exercise at least 2 hours 4 or 5 days a week. Would you care to join me again tomorrow evening?"
Tomorrow evening it is then, Commander."
The 2 men walked out of the holodeck and parted. David went to his quarters, showered, and then brought out the papers that he and Reg had been looking over earlier in the lounge. Several hours of careful study later, he put everything away and retired for the night. 6 days a week, he worked in engineering, learning everything he could possibly grasp. Then, for several hours those same 6 days, he and Reg worked on the theory around their project. Several times, Counselor Trina tried to interest David in various female crew members. Besides Ensign Eleanor Simpson, Trina introduced David to a red-headed lieutenant, a tall half-Pompeian lieutenant commander, a very passionate Centurion human crossbreed, and several Baywall women. Finally, David called the counselor and asked for a few minutes of her time. He walked into her office and, confronting her, said, "Counselor, I do not appreciate your efforts to fix me up with the ladies you have introduced me to. I appreciate your motives. But I am asking you, please, cease and desist. These kinds of things must come in their own time, and I am not so hard up that I need a matchmaker. Please stop." Deanna felt the anger welling up in him, almost masking the loneliness. She finally told him that she would not try to fix him up with any more young women. Satisfied, David returned to the room he and Reg used to work on their project. Reg was there, seemingly overcome with excitement.
Dave, I think we have it. I believe we are ready to take our theory to Stephen. He could approve our use of a holodeck simulation to begin proving our theory.
With that, the 2 men agreed to approach Stephen the next morning. Excited, they parted for the evening. David was prepared to begin his exercise period when Mr. Chal signed his arrival at David's door.
"Commander, shall we try a higher level this evening?"
David agreed, and the 2 warriors entered the holodeck prepared to engage the program at level 6. At the end of 2 hours, both men ended the program, expressed their appreciation for an excellent workout, and parted for the evening. The mission of the Enterprise was a routine mapping exercise near the border with the Centurion Empire. Again, everything went smoothly, with Stephen reporting to the first officer that David had reached a level of competence equal to that of a senior lieutenant in engineering. He also reported to Walker the progress that David and Reg had made in their shield enhancement project. Walker asked Stephen to inform David that he should report to Walker in the lounge at 1900 hours that evening. Again, Counselor Trina and Commander Walker sat at a table, waiting for David as he approached. Counselor, good evening. Commander, is this a convenient time?
Yes, Dave. I asked Counselor Trina to be here at this time.
David stood. All right, what can I do for you?
Commander Davis has reported that you have already exceeded his expectations in engineering. Beginning Monday, I have arranged for you to work in security. You will report to Lieutenant Commander Chow at 0800 hours Monday if that is agreeable with you.
I look forward to working with Lieutenant Commander Chow. He and I have been exercising together the past few weeks. By the way, Commander, I am still waiting to hear from you about your training in martial arts.
Well, yes, I will get back to you on that, Dave. Stephen also told me about the project you and Lieutenant Champion have been looking into. It seems like a worthwhile project. When you are ready for real experimentation, coordinate with Stephen. We'll arrange something.
Thank you, sir. Will there be anything else?
No, not at this time. Dismissed.
David nodded, turned, and departed. Deanna looked at Walker.
You certainly got military all of a sudden. Is something wrong?
Deanna, he didn't even sit down. He seemed to be in a hurry to leave. What else could I do?
Well, you didn't invite him to sit. I sensed a feeling from him that it was not his place to sit unless invited. Did I tell you that David is a truly humble person? When a person shows interest in him, he is surprised and flattered. He probably felt that you wanted to get your interview over with quickly. And so, that is just what he did.
What about the other thing you sensed? Loneliness.
I tried to get him together with several of the unattached females in the crew. But he asked me to stop. It does not seem to hamper his effectiveness, though. There is nothing else I can say or do.
Did he say that he and Chal are exercising together? Is that what he said?
Yes, I know that they have been exercising together for the last couple of months. Chal tells me that they are using his calisthenics program, but unarmed, they last used level 6.
Unarmed? Level 6? I think I had better get him to start teaching me.
David walked briskly to his quarters, changed, and met Chal at the holodeck.
You're late, Commander.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chal. I had a short meeting with Commander Walker. Are you ready?
I am ready. Level 6?
That sounds good to me. Let's go. The two officers entered the holodeck and thoroughly enjoyed themselves. 2 hours later, they ended their program and started to go their separate ways. Chal stopped and said,
Commander, tomorrow evening, a few of US will gather in Commander Walker's quarters for a friendly poker game. Would you care to join us?
I don't know if I would be welcome. I would like to join you. But well, if the others don't mind. Commander Walker and several other officers had arranged to begin their martial art training 2 evenings a week. Included in the class were Walker, Davis, Trina, Dr. Thrasher, Reg Champion, and about 30 junior officers. David insisted that each individual in his class get a complete physical examination before they got too far into the program. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and finally, David had been aboard the Enterprise for a full year. He had been through almost every section aboard. The last position he would work in would be that of first officer. In this position, he would be working directly under Commander Walker and the watchful eye of Captain Perry. He learned all the mundane elements of being first officer: inspections, duty rosters, protocol, bridge organization, and the usual politics. Then, during a routine call on one colonial world, David assembled an away team and led the team with Commander Walker at his side. He and Reg had finally received permission to begin a full-scale test using one of the shuttlecrafts. The first tests were conducted on the shuttlecraft with standard shield generators. The shuttle was subjected to laser fire in measured amounts until the shield failed. Careful measurements and component analysis were made, and every bit of data was logged and scrutinized. Then Reg and David modified the shuttle's shield generators and coils. The identical tests were conducted using the improved system. It was found that the standard armaments of the Enterprise could not overcome the new shields. The shuttle withstood all the Enterprise could throw at it, including the new quantum torpedoes. Several other types of weapons were tried, such as a Centurion disruptor. The Enterprise even tried to simulate the Gorn plasma weapon, all with the same results. Stephen, Bill, Reg, and David were elated. However, when Captain Perry reported the success of the project to the System Navy, the only acknowledgement they received was that the project had been pursued without the System Navy's authorization. No modifications to any ship were authorized until research and development could verify and approve their findings. When Captain Perry relayed these words to Bill, Reg, Stephen, and David, David turned to his fellow officers and said, "Well, that is that. We'll never hear another word about these improved shields unless someone at the System Navy steals credit for our work." Captain Perry replied,
"That is a rather negative view, Commander."
"Sir, it is the old not invented here syndrome. If they didn't think of it or invent it, it will die in R&D. Besides, there are still people in the Admiralty who would like to flush me. So whatever they can do to discourage me, they will." As long as David served aboard the Enterprise, they never did hear another word about the improved shield project. However, David kept a personal copy of everything he and Reg had done dated. He noted with the signatures of Captain Perry, Commanders Walker and Trena, Lieutenant Commanders Data, Davis, and Lieutenant Champion. David was determined to see that these shield improvements were brought to the attention of the System Navy commanders and ships' captains as soon as he could figure a way without the Admiralty stopping the word. Captain Perry had already instructed Stephen to devise a plan and stockpile the parts and materials necessary to equip the Enterprise with the shield improvements as soon as they had approval. David had served aboard the Enterprise for 13 months and had completed the entire training agenda Commander Walker had arranged for him. One morning Bill reported the satisfactory completion of the training to Captain Perry.
"Captain, Commander Stevens has met and exceeded all my requirements and expectations. I believe it is time for his permanent assignment." "You're right, Number 1, it is time for his permanent assignment. Admiral Holloran directed that he be kept informed of David's progress, and that I have done. Now, I will notify the Admiral of his completion." "Sir, if you are in contact with Admiral Holloran, why not let him know about the shield improvement project?" "I have Bill, but the Admiral wants to give R&D time before he takes action. I haven't told anyone. But I have been authorized by Admiral Merovich to make the necessary modifications to the Enterprise, only asking that I hold off for a while. They both want enough evidence of someone's obstruction to take definitive action. They have prepared a full packet of modification procedures for transmission to every ship in the fleet if and when they can or must take action. But sir, Stevens says it will take weeks to modify the Enterprise. If we get into a battle, we won't have weeks." "I know, Bill, but I want to cooperate with the admirals as much as possible. However, if we can eliminate those obstructing such necessary improvements, we can only improve the System Navy."
David sat in the lounge sipping a glass of iced tea when Bill walked toward the table, and David invited him to sit down. "What is on the agenda now, Commander?"
"Dave, Captain Perry has given his report on your training to Admiral Holloran. Now, all we can do is wait. Until we get the word about your final assignment, I thought you might go back and work with Stephen and Reg on preparations for the shield modification on the Enterprise."
"Commander Walker, I would value your personal evaluation of the training program and my compliance."
"Dave, I have overseen the training of many officers. You have done exceptionally well and exceeded all my requirements and expectations. I thought you would be in the training program much longer. I really had estimated your program to last between 18 months and 3 years. Having completed everything in just over a year, I believe you should be on a fast track to commanding your own ship."
After 3 months of working in engineering after completing all his training, David received his new orders. Captain Perry called a meeting of all senior officers and announced David's new appointment. "By order of Admiral Merovich, you are to report to Naval Base 13 to direct the refitting of the USS Constitution. You will have 18 months to prepare the Constitution for commissioning." Then before all the senior officers of the Enterprise, Captain Perry called David to the head of the conference table, and there read a second set of orders.
"By direction of the President of the United System, Commander David Stevens is hereby promoted to the rank of Captain with all the responsibilities and privileges of that rank.
Then Captain Perry pinned the insignia of rank on David's collar.
Congratulations, Captain.
Overcome for a moment, he looked at his friends around the table, Captain Perry, Commander Walker, and all of you who have been my guides, my teachers, and my friends, thank you. I will miss each of you. It looks like the Constitution will be my next challenge. I will ask heaven to bless each of you, and I hope I will always be able to call you friends.